As I began to study the research topic of gluttony in Christian churches, the first method that I used was participatory observation, the collection of research data through personal engagement in the events of the group that I was studying. I used this method as I was studying the reasons why people engage in certain activities, and so I desired an experiential understanding of the motives involved. I sought such an understanding and the data that will flow out of it by participating in church meals, in terms of bringing food to events, dining at them, and especially in the case of my own church, or what was my church at the time, helping to serve at them. During the time of the events, I interacted with participants as I randomly came into contact with them. Through participatory research, I studied Christians who engage in the preparation, serving, and eating of food in church, lay people and leaders alike. I visited communal church meals within the Greater Toronto Area and took part in events as they were going on. I primarily used Facebook and church websites to learn when such events were taking place. When I always was going to a church event other than what was at my own church, I always contacted the leader of the church meal, as I was attending an event organized by a particular church body. In terms of what was my own church, I did tell my then pastor what I was researching, so he had knowledge of what I was doing. The second method that I planned to use was interviews, the collection of research data by way of asking people for their information and or opinions on issues under investigation. I used this method because I wanted to discover people's knowledge, thoughts, and feelings in connection with the subject of gluttony, and I wanted to clarify and further understand data I had gleaned both from my observational methods and as I continued with the study with earlier interviews. I planned on conducting informal, casual conversational, semi-formal, targeted theme-specific, and formal, targeted question-specific interviews. But I eventually found people unwilling to participate in informal interviews, and given the topic of the study, I felt that formal interviews were too rigid. As I was asking people to speak to me of a sin potentially going on in their church, potentially which they themselves were involved in, I wanted them to feel comfortable. And I felt more relaxed asking questions in a semi-formal way. I conducted the interviews in spaces the interviewees requested, which included a coffee shop, a hamburger restaurant, an office, a church boardroom, and in my own home. I did interview a parish nurse, a nurse, and 2 pastors. Through semi-formal interviews that I conducted, I sought out the thought processes of individual Christians, church leaders, and health and wellness experts. At the time I began my project, I had thought that since I had some experience dialoguing with church leaders, I could rely on semi-formal interviews I would hold with them. However, I was not accustomed to speaking with health experts and thought that I would have to ask technical questions, so I had better use formal interviews. However, in actual practice, I found the health experts quite comfortable to chat with, so this issue disappeared. At the outset, I had also thought that I might perhaps contact health professionals through Eat Right Ontario, a free service of Dietitians of Canada, whose phone number is 1-877-510-50. Let me say that again. 1-877-510-5102. However, this did not prove necessary, as I simply spoke to one nurse that I found by way of the internet, and another who is a personal friend. I recorded the interviews by way of 2 different cell phone recording apps, and also on my notebook computer. But no recording device that I used proved truly satisfactory. Indeed, one interview was lost completely, and another too badly muffled to use. A third method that I used were surveys on gluttony and food. These I posted online at the website surveymonkey.com, and I invited people in person and over the web to respond to these surveys. I conducted these surveys because I saw them as a faster way to generate responses from a larger number of participants than would be possible to sit down and interview. A fourth method that I had planned to use was an archive search, possibly at the University of Toronto. However, I simply ran out of time to do that. Thanks for listening, and please like on this video, comment on it, and subscribe to the channel. And if you have any questions about this video, please leave them in the comment section below. Thank you. See you next time.